Welcome to Smell Like Dirt. Today we're going to talk about the Rodney Dangerfields of the birding world. Sparrows. They just can't get no respect. When birding, it's easy to get distracted by the brightly colored males of some species and ignore all the rest, including the females. Because the females are usually less colorful than their male counterparts, like these three females, the bluebird, the cardinal, and the house finch. And that's a good thing, because the females are usually the ones stuck sitting on the nest and they need to be really well camouflaged. But the sparrow is an easily overlooked bird because neither sex is particularly noteworthy when it comes to their coloring. Some people don't even bother to identify them at all, choosing instead to lump them into one big category called LBJs, or those little brown jobs. And just because a bird is a little less flashy, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're any less interesting. Take the white-throated sparrow, for example. Here in the Piedmont of North Carolina, the white-throated sparrows are winter residents, meaning they don't breed here, they just come and spend the winter with us. They can usually be found on the ground under the feeder, scarfing up the seed that's fallen to the ground. And I know they've arrived in the fall when I hear their familiar calls. And once I identified the bird and their song, I figured I knew pretty much everything I needed to know about the white-throated sparrow. I had noticed that some were not quite as bright as others, but I just chalked that up to the females being more drab than the males. And then I heard a very interesting story about these birds. Turns out that there are two different plumages, a white-striped and a tan-striped. 50% of the males are white-striped and 50% of the females are tan-striped. They're not sexually dimorphic, meaning you can't tell the difference between the male and the female just by their coloring. And over 95% of the pairs have one white stripe and one tan stripe partner. And they call that negative assortative mating. But I call that opposites attract. What intrigued me was how, without a mirror, does a bird know what color his or her own stripes are, so that when it comes time to choose a mate, they make sure they're choosing one of a different color. Well, it turns out that the chromosomal difference that makes their feathers different colors also makes them behave differently, so they don't need mirrors. The white stripes of both sexes are aggressive, and the tan stripes are more passive. The tan-striped females make great mothers because they're so nurturing, and the white-striped males are great at fighting for territory because they're so aggressive, so that particular pairing is the most successful in raising a brood. It's very rare that two white stripes will mate because they're so aggressive they fight too much. And the tan-striped are so laid back that, well, nothing much gets done with that pairing. So you know what? Opposites really do attract. The next time you're tempted to write off that little LBJ in your yard as boring, do a little research. It might just have an interesting story to tell. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carol Bowie Jackson, and here's hoping you smell like dirt.